Your light switches, traffic lights, elevators, home security cameras, and blood banks all were invented or perfected by Black Americans, whose names were systematically erased while white men collected the patents, the profits, and the glory. Today, we're exposing 5 inventors whose genius was stolen, rebranded, and sold back to the world as white innovation. Latimer. Thomas Edison stood in his laboratory holding a light bulb that wouldn't last through dinner. 15 hours. That's all he could squeeze out of his revolutionary invention before it burned out and turned back into an expensive paperweight. While newspapers crowned him the Wizard of Menlo Park, working families couldn't afford to replace bulbs every day, and cities watched their electric dreams flicker and die. Edison had the fame, the funding, and the headlines, but he didn't have a solution. Latimer did. The son of escaped slaves George and Rebecca Latimer had taught himself mechanical drawing while working at a patent law firm in Boston. By 1881, he was working for the U.S. Electric Lighting Company, Edison's main competitor, and he'd identified exactly why Edison's bulb kept failing. The carbon filament burned too hot and too fast. Latimer invented a new manufacturing process for carbon filaments that were far more durable. His filaments didn't burn out in hours, they lasted for months. On September 13, 1881, he received patent number 247,097 for his process of manufacturing carbons. This single innovation made electric lighting economically viable for mass production. Cities hired Latimer personally to install public electric lighting systems in New York, Philadelphia, Montreal, and London. He wrote the first textbook on electric lighting, Incandescent Electric Lighting, a practical description of the Edison system. He even joined Edison's legal team, using his expertise to defend electric light patents in court. Edison built his empire on Latimer's breakthrough. General Electric, the corporation that traces its lineage directly to Edison's company, never put Latimer's name on their historical timeline. The man who solved the problem that made electric light possible became a footnote, while Edison's face went on commemorative stamps. Before we continue, if you believe these stolen Black inventions and erased legacies deserve to be remembered, subscribe to Black Stories Untold. We're unearthing the secrets they tried to erase and revealing the thefts they hoped would stay hidden. Now, back to the video. Garrett Morgan. Deep below Lake Erie, 32 men fight a silent killer, poisonous gas that fills their every lung. Above, the fire department scrambles, but every effort fails. Seconds stretch into unbearable minutes. Families scream, and in the suffocating darkness below, death waits with merciless patience. Then Garrett Morgan shows up with a device that looks like it came from the future. July 25, 1916. Morgan and his brother Frank strapped on their safety hood breathing devices, descended into that death trap, and pulled those men out one by one. By morning, Morgan had personally saved multiple lives using his own invention. He was a hero. The device was a miracle. The safety hood, patented in 1914, used a long tube that drew air from ground level where smoke and gases were less concentrated. The design allowed firefighters and rescue workers to breathe in environments that would normally kill them within minutes. After the Cleveland Tunnel rescue, orders poured in from fire departments across the North. Then the testimonials started including Morgan's photograph. Southern fire departments immediately canceled their orders. Northern departments in areas with large immigrant populations grew skeptical. Fire chiefs wanted to know, was the inventor really a Negro? Morgan hired a white actor to pose as the inventor during demonstrations. He himself would attend these demonstrations disguised as Big Chief Mason, a supposed Native American assistant who operated the equipment. At events across the country, Morgan watched a white man take credit for his invention while he played a silent, subservient role in his own demonstration. The safety hood saved countless lives during World War I, where it was adapted for use as a gas mask in the trenches. Morgan received no military contracts and no recognition. In 1923, Morgan witnessed a carriage accident at a Cleveland intersection and invented the 3-position traffic signal, the first to include a yield or warning position between stop and go. On November 20, 1923, he sold the patent to General Electric for $40,000. General Electric turned that patent into a multi-billion-dollar traffic management industry. They never mentioned Morgan's name in their corporate history. Alexander Miles. Step into an elevator in 1886, and every ride could be your last. Operators had to manually close 2 separate doors, and one slip, one forgotten latch, meant stepping straight into an empty shaft, plummeting to certain death. Buildings weren't just tall, they were vertical death traps, looming over crowded streets like silent predators. Year after year, dozens of lives vanished because a single door wasn't secured, leaving families shattered and the city haunted by a danger that lurked in plain sight. Every ride was a gamble, and the stakes were nothing less than life and death. Alexander Miles looked at this carnage and said, "There has to be a better way." On October 11, 1887, Alexander Miles of Duluth, Minnesota, received patent number 371,207 for his elevator improvement. The document described an automatic mechanism that would open and close elevator shaft doors in sync with the car doors, preventing the accidents that killed dozens of people annually in buildings across America. Miles created a system of levers, rollers, and pulleys that made the 2 sets of doors mechanically dependent on each other. If one door was open, the elevator couldn't move. Simple, brilliant, life-saving. The Otis Elevator Company, founded by Elisha Otis in 1853, had dominated the elevator industry for decades with their safety elevator that prevented the car from falling if the cable broke. But Otis's design still required manual door operation. After Miles's 1887 patent, Otis and other elevator manufacturers incorporated automatic door mechanisms into their designs. Miles's name appears on his original 1887 patent. However, tracing the evolution of automatic elevator doors through the 1890s, 1900s, and into the modern era reveals that Miles disappears from the patent record. Later inventors filed improvement patents that built directly on his mechanism. Those patents credit each other in an unbroken chain, except Miles's name vanishes after 1887. Today, every elevator safety system in the world uses some variation of Miles's automatic door principle. The National Inventors Hall of Fame, which inducts Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, and the Wright brothers, has no record of Alexander Miles. Marie Van Brittan Brown. It's 1966, and Marie Van Brittan Brown is lying awake in her Jamaica, Queens apartment, listening to footsteps in the hallway, wondering if tonight's the night someone breaks in. She's a nurse working late shifts. Her husband, Albert, works irregular hours as an electronics technician, and she knows exactly how long it takes the police to respond to calls in her black neighborhood. Hours, if they come at all. The system has made it clear her safety isn't a priority, so she decided to build her own protection. Brown, working with her husband Albert, designed a security system for their apartment. She took out patent number 3,482,037 on December 2nd, 1969, for a home security system utilizing television surveillance. The patent drawings show a system that included 4 peepholes at different heights in the front door, each fitted with a camera that could slide vertically to view visitors. The camera fed to a television monitor inside the apartment. A 2-way microphone allowed Brown to speak with visitors without opening the door. A remote-controlled door lock let her grant access from inside. And crucially, her design included a button that could send an immediate alarm signal to a security company or police station. This was 1969. Home video surveillance didn't exist commercially. 2-way audio intercoms were rare. Remote-controlled locks were almost unheard of in residential buildings. Brown's patent anticipated the entire home security industry by decades. In the 1970s and 1980s, companies like ADT began offering home security systems to suburban homeowners. Their designs featured cameras, audio communication, remote locks, and emergency alert buttons, every element Brown had patented in 1969. By the 1990s, home security had become a billion-dollar industry. Ring, the doorbell camera company, sold to Amazon in 2018 for over $1 billion. Their core product, a camera and microphone at your front door connected to your phone, is a direct descendant of Brown's design. Marie Van Brittan Brown died in 1999. She never received royalties from the industry built on her patent. She was never inducted into the Inventors Hall of Fame. The home security corporations that made billions from her design never acknowledged her contribution. Dr. Charles Drew. Dr. Charles Drew held the key to saving thousands of lives. and the United States military told him his blood wasn't good enough to mix with white soldiers' blood. Let that sink in. The man who invented the modern blood bank, the man whose research was actively saving lives on battlefields across Europe, was told his scientific breakthrough came with a color line. In 1938, Dr. Charles Drew was completing his doctoral research at Columbia University, studying blood preservation and storage. His dissertation, Banked Blood, a study in blood preservation, established the techniques that would make large-scale blood banking possible. Drew discovered that separating plasma from whole blood and freezing it could extend the storage time dramatically. Plasma could be stored for much longer than whole blood, didn't require matching blood types as precisely, and could be transported across long distances without refrigeration. This breakthrough made blood banking viable on a scale that could serve hospitals, disaster sites, and battlefields. In 1940, Drew became the medical director of Blood for Brittan, a program that shipped American blood plasma to British soldiers and civilians during the London Blitz. He organized the collection, processing, and shipment of thousands of units of plasma that saved countless lives during the German bombing campaign. When America entered World War II in 1941, Drew was appointed director of the first American Red Cross blood bank. He oversaw the collection of blood for the U.S. military, establishing protocols that became standard worldwide. Then, the U.S. War Department issued an order. Blood donations must be segregated by race. The military demanded that blood from black donors be labeled and stored separately from blood donated by white Americans. They claimed this was to respect the preferences of white soldiers who might object to receiving Negro blood. There was no scientific basis for racial blood segregation. Blood types A, B, AB, and O are distributed across all racial groups. Drew himself had helped establish this fact in his research. The policy was pure racism, codified as military regulation. Drew protested publicly, calling the policy unjustified and scientifically baseless. In 1942, he resigned from the Red Cross rather than continue administering a segregated blood system. After Drew's resignation, the Red Cross continued operating blood banks using his techniques and protocols. His name was gradually removed from Red Cross literature and historical materials. By the 1950s, histories of the blood bank credited white administrators and military doctors, while Drew's pioneering work was reduced to a minor mention. Drew died in 1950 after a car accident in North Carolina. A myth spread that he bled to death after white hospitals refused to treat him. This wasn't true, but the fact that the story was believable says everything about the medical system he'd worked within. Now, we're stepping into the part where the truth starts to feel heavier, where the shadows get harder to ignore. Lewis Latimer, Garrett Morgan, Alexander Miles, Marie Van Brittan Brown, Dr. Charles Drew. These aren't random stories of forgotten inventors. This is a pattern of systematic theft that built American wealth on black genius while handing the credit to white men who happen to own the patents. Every time you flip a light switch, stop at a traffic light, ride an elevator, check your home security camera, or receive a blood transfusion, you're using technology created by black inventors whose names were deliberately erased from history. They wanted you to believe innovation was white. They wanted you to think Edison, Henry Ford, and corporations like General Electric built the modern world alone. They wanted you to forget that black brilliance literally created the infrastructure of daily life. We refuse to let their names be footnotes. The only way to reclaim these stolen legacies is to speak their names until history can't ignore us anymore. Share this truth. Tell everyone you know, the theft ends now. Out of the 5 inventions in this video, which one do you think was the most shockingly stolen, and why? Comment your answer below, because your voice helps shine a light on the truths they tried to hide. If they stole credit from these 5 inventors, imagine what else they've stolen. Click the video on your screen to uncover stories from the past that reveal injustice, courage, and resilience. Stories that too often go untold, but whose impact runs deeper than you might realize. The pattern goes deeper than you think.